population speak the language, followed by isiXhosa, Afrikaans, Sepedi, English, and others. Then Joburg Water says there are no signs that show that its water systems will recover anytime soon amid supply challenges in parts of the city. Some households across the municipality are experiencing low water pressure, while some rely on tankers for supply. The entity has blamed the recent increases in consumption of water by residents, which was toppled by last week's heat wave. And lastly, the Gauteng Department of Health says the incident with bogus Dr. Matthew Lani has exposed the shortcomings of its vetting systems. The department has opened a criminal case against a famous TikTok user going by the name of Dr. Matthew Lani. It says in 2022, Lani managed to land a job at the Helen Joseph Hospital as an intern doctor using a name that belonged to another intern doctor at a different hospital. Department spokesperson Mutaletale Modiba.
The incident has elevated the urgent need to strengthen access control across all our facilities and to improve employee identification processes.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated showers and thunder showers. Temps will drop to an overnight low of between 14 and 16 degrees, peaking at highs between 24 and 27 degrees. Your top story in EWN, Stats SA says Gauteng is the most populous province in the country.
Eyewitness News on 947. For more, click ewn.co.za.
MSW. You may begin to feel anxious or excited.
Honest, deliberate, engaging, uncensored.
High-dosage administration can cause adverse reactions.
And most importantly, independent in mind and execution.
This is a normal response. Are you ready?
Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Goal! Pirates are the winners! The Buccaneers win the MTN 8.
Congratulations to Orlando Pirates for winning the MTN 8 final. Even though the win played a huge factor, we're anticipating a very, very great display of football. But nonetheless, we emerged victorious via a penalty shootout. And of course, you cannot talk about the penalty shootout without mentioning the name Sipho Chaine.
Thank you very much indeed. I love that voice note because it's windy. And he says that the wind spoiled a good cup final over the weekend. So he's almost reminding us of what wind sounds like, eh?
I Sundowns. I know I'm a supporter. No offense, but for a team that has been dominating the PSL for such a long time, I am a supporter. Yes, so call it Tarop. Sure.
Saying that Sundowns, yeah, despite all the successes that they've had through the years, there's one thing they're lacking is support. What's your take?
It will be a waste of time for me to dwell on the referees shenanigans on the weekend. Gave me a Pirates and Sundowns. All I can say, Gutsi, as my Sandawana, let's regroup and look forward to the next game.
The refereeing, do they get more attention again this weekend?
Robert Marawa, live on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. #MSW. Do you want to obsess over advanced rugby stats and understand sophisticated analytical arguments about your favorite player? It's all available on 947 at #MSW. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. Every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. with Robert, Tando, and Ashwin. Be there.
Dare we say the quarterfinals of Rugby World Cup upon us? We cannot wait. And I'm sure so got you at home, wherever you are, and wherever you're listening to the show across the country, the continent, and the world. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of hashtag MSW Marawa Sports Worldwide. And being a Tuesday, let's remind you, it is the room dividers. So any rugby-related issues, we unpack them, we put them right here onto the table, discussion points. You send us your WhatsApp voice notes, you call through into the studio because what a massive weekend, man. What a big weekend coming up for South Africa. Not only just for South Africa, I can tell you that much. Mouth-watering quarterfinals all round. The fixtures are out. They're upon us, as we said. A thrilling weekend promises to be. Stakes are very, very high. Standards have also just risen to a completely different level, and we love it that way. And it's a simple equation. Let's remind you, it's as simple as you lose, you go home. We don't even have to try and complicate it. Hey, Ziashin laughing. It's as simple as that, man. You lose, you go home. Winners, they move on. In fact, they move to within 2 games of glory. You win. 2 games away from being world champions. So if you can instill that into the team, you can instill that into the players, man, you're going to get some warriors coming out there. I don't know who's going to prevail. Each of the quarterfinals, I mean, it pits a Northern Hemisphere group winner against a runner-up from the Southern Hemisphere. Could also be a historic lookout as well to make this weekend. I don't know. Could they be a lockout? I don't know. The host nation, France, they'll be playing against the reigning and 3-time champions, South Africa. The world's number 1 ranked side, Ireland, taking on 3-time champions, New Zealand, at the Stade de France in St. Denis. And also Stade de Marseille, Pool C winners, Wales. My goodness, they've been such a pleasure to watch. Wales, they get to play against Argentina. Las Pumas' crucial victory against Japan in Nantes, putting them through. Yeah, they've made it. And at the same venue, Pool D, the winners, England, is going to be playing against Fiji. Was set to compete in that knockout stage of the Rugby World Cup for the very first time. And we've got to compliment them. First time since, back in 2007. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. But I can warn you, I can safely tell you that it's going to be a journey worth looking out for. But before I introduce these 2 scary-looking gentlemen, let's remind you about how seriously we also take what we do here on 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live when it comes to the broadcast of sport, and especially sporting codes of national importance and how you and I view it. We view it in such a way that we shouldn't at times sit here and bring you the news from this perspective. We also believe that we need to get out there and be there with the fans, be there with the national teams, be there with the authorities and see what's going on so we can come back and report back to you in a proper way.
This Friday the 13th, be very afraid as Robert Marawa and Tando Manana take over the streets of France. Catch Marawa Sports Worldwide live at the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals.
And he scores a fantastic try.
Kickstarting all the action with a special live broadcast on Friday, 13 October.
South Africa have their bonus point try.
And again on Monday, 16 October, featuring all the exclusive interviews and the all-day live crossings on various shows. Marawa Sports Worldwide Rugby World Cup Takeover with Robert Marawa and Tando Manana. Hashtag MSW in France.
Yeah, we're still trying to negotiate a passport here for Ashwin Williams. I think he lost his many moons ago. But yeah, that's the news that we wanted to share with you. The fact that, hashtag MSW is going to be out in France at the Rugby World Cup. As of Friday, we're broadcasting live from that side and also on Monday. So it's pre and post the game. So whatever happens, we'll bring you the rundown, everything. Tanda Manana, you here. Good evening. Welcome. Room Dividers. Ashwin Williams, good evening. Welcome to the Room Dividers. Firstly, Mr. Manana, passport ready?
Passport is ready.
Please don't pack a full chicken.
Good evening
this
to
time.
everyone. I just double checked, Rob. I always worry about the Schengen visa, so it's still ongoing. Even the language, a bit difficult, but it's a bit.
Give us some of your friends, Tando.
Yeah, what have you learned since the last time?
No, it has evaporated, that French.
We.
No, please, no weeing, guys. No. We don't have
A different
emergency
we.
exits here.
It's a different we.
We don't have emergency exits. Please. Please avoid the one thing you did last time, because I think it was your first international flight since a long time. And they told me at the airport that they had to ask you to leave the full chicken that you brought on board because you weren't aware that they serve these things for free. So I'm just asking on behalf
Any
of
duty
anyone.
free, be it chicken, be it perfume, you have to buy because they have to seal it. There's nothing wrong.
No, please just avoid it though. The one you took there, it was not even cooked. But let's leave it there. Let's leave it there.
Rob, let's start with time.
Ashwin Phillips, sir, you good?
Yo.
What would you have been doing now? I mean, you've been there. You've been in France. You've been at the World Cup. You've won this trophy. It is, what date? It's a Tuesday. It's a build-up to a quarterfinal. Take me through to back then.
So the Springboks actually, I think, so they've had off last week. They came back. So you'll see they're getting back into the training this week. So first sort of day of training tomorrow. I heard they're only announcing the team on Friday, so keeping everybody also guessing. So,
Maybe they're waiting for us to arrive there, so they might make the announcement on the show.
Big announcement there. So this is really now, especially if you look at the team, the squad. The substance of the team has been there before. So when you talk about this level of encounter, we lost against Japan in that game with the Japanese sort of crowd there. So I think the team would have learned a lesson from that in terms of the power of a home crowd in a World Cup. And so from that one, I think, Rassi and the coaching staff would prepare themselves to make the team also understand that they're not just playing against the team on the field in this quarterfinal. It's arguably the biggest team for the French since, I think, the last time that they beat the All Blacks 2007. So it's as massive. There's question mark over Dupont. Will he come back? Will he be ready to play? So it's significant for the French in that it's the one game, I think, that can sort of galvanize their entire nation behind the team for one thing. So if you think 95, the French is almost like in a 95 moment currently for themselves, if you think about it. There's bed bugs, there's been protests before the World Cup started. So if there's one thing for the French, then for South Africa, I think, can you imagine the mood if on Sunday, I mean, if you guys arrive together on Monday or Tuesday at OR Tambo, can you imagine the mood for us as South Africans?
It wouldn't be a good one.
Yes. So
we'd be happy to return back alone.
So equally, we have everything to play for. And this is what happens at knockout stages. I just think that where we're at now, it really would be about calming the nerves, settling in, going through the molds, just understanding what are the key things to focus on. So it really is about the mental space. I mean, today is the 10th of October, so it's World Mental Health Day. So I think from a mental perspective, frame of mind, so it's just really to ease in and calm the players down. I would imagine that will be the focus this week because we've done it. Everyone there knows the drills. Lucanio Arm's probably got the butterflies in his stomach. Big one coming up for him. Who knows the selection? What's going to be? Andre Pollard the same. So it is about the leadership now, about taking the guys through, making everyone understand that this is just another game for us as a team, pretty much.
Going through your mind, Tanda Banana, as Ashwin gives us the lowdown, no specific question. I think we're excited. There was a stage where this time last week, we're not certain, as rugby would. You never know what happens in rugby, but we were quite confident that we would be where we are now. Now that the reality faces us?
Rob, it's a good question. I'll say one thing, is that all the teams going into the quarterfinals have picked up form, bar Fiji, who have regressed since they've beat Australia. But if you look at all the others, for example, New Zealand, It was as if they've been playing touch rugby since they lost to the French, leading into the quarterfinals. But they were fine-tuning what they needed to do in order for them to prepare for Saturday's game. Now, if you look at the Irish, and I'll tell you what, for them it was a big risk because the permutations or the calculations said to them they need to win at all cost to finish on top of the group and not heavily rely on just a single point or two because things could work against them. And if you watch that first half, how clinical they were, getting the 4 tries within the 36th minute of the first half. But also, what it also showed you is that once that was done, they made proper changes and correct changes to the main guys of the team because they knew they had a big one. In fact, in the post-match, the coach Farrell indicated that they have a few guys with bruises and a few bumps and bruises, which you could expect and you needed to expect that post that game. But I think also most importantly is they well ready for a New Zealand onslaught because they've just played a tough game, and that's what you want, is that you want a team that is able then when they look at the video session, they can properly look what worked for them and what didn't. For New Zealand, it becomes a problem because when they played Italy, they beat them by 90-something to whatever the score line was. That's not a good prep for them going into a knockout stage. But if you look at South Africa, South Africa have had almost 2 weeks of proper rest, proper body. So body-wise and mentally, like you've said, from Ash, from your side, is I think South Africa is in a very good position. The only thing that's now we have to look forward to is how selection works going forward. But also, I was also mindful of the fact that Cheslin Colby hasn't played rugby in 3 weeks. Then mentally, will he just adjust quickly and within, their type of system? But in terms of South Africa, they had a good draw in the pool B scenario because for them, it means they started with Scotland and then boom, boom, boom. A week to go, they had an off day and they're preparing. In fact, they traveled from Toulon. They're now in Paris, 15 minutes out of Paris. So they still want that sort of away from the city liner. They still want to be alone. Just they take it very seriously. I then look at a team like Wales, and I look at a guy that, Patrick, that was in charge before. I don't think Wales would have gone over or onto the knockout stages had it not been for Gatland. So if you look at what Gatland has done, he's brought that positivity within the team. They qualified earlier, they got enough rest, and now they go and probably will face their toughest opponent, which is Argentina, in the quarterfinals. Should they win, they go into the semis, which is exactly what he did 4 years ago in Japan. And if you look at England has, they were so fortunate to beat Samoa. It could have, they're going into a knockout stage. They're going to be facing very, very tough opponent, themselves. And now all of a sudden it becomes tricky, which is Fiji, because Fiji, at the back of the mind, have beaten them in Twickenham. So for me, all the 8 teams going into the knockout, I think they know exactly what they need to do, Rob. So I'm quite happy. But also at the back of my mind, just before you come in, Ash, I looked at then the countries that have won it at home. There's only been 2. It's only South Africa in 95, New Zealand 87, and then New Zealand 2011. All the others have always been away. Australia, they've won it twice, and they won it away from home in the Northern Hemisphere. Then you look at England, they won it in Australia. So those things for me says
also
this
South
World
Africa,
Cup.
Japan.
Yes.
I mean, you look at South Africa, France as well.
Yes.
So there's a greater point in terms of the issue that you're raising. Hold on to that, Mr. Banana. I'm not cutting you off because I don't want to hear what you're saying. We've got to take a break. After the break, though, we continue with the conversation. We'll include some of your WhatsApp voice notes. Give us not only just a prediction, just the overall assessment of where we are as the Springboks, but also other nations that are participating within the quarterfinals, some mouth-watering ones, as Tando as well as Ashwin were outlining the Wales-Argentina one. We know with Wales as well, the loss of their number 8, Faletau. What kind of impact will that have? They've been able to go on and soldier on without him. England versus Fiji. we mentioned earlier. First time since 2007 that they make it through to this stage of the tournament. Ireland and New Zealand is also another great rugby match in the prospect, especially given how well New Zealand have played post that opening match that they had against the French. So we'll take a quick break. After the break, hey, we'll introduce a guest coming through. He is in Paris already. He's been writing and still is writing for the Sunday Times in the United Kingdom, and looking forward to chatting to Stephen Jones.
Robert Marawa.
Get more attention again this weekend.
And Tando Manana.
That's where we're getting at now.
Take over the streets of France.
That flies in for the Rainbow Nation.
Catch Marawa Sports Worldwide live at the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals during France versus the Box and Ireland versus New Zealand, featuring all the behind the scenes. The box preparation, the exclusive interviews, and the all-day live crossings and various shows. Don't miss the action-packed reaction on Monday, 16 October, with all the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals review and reaction.
Got it for South Africa.
Marawa Sports Worldwide Rugby World Cup Takeover was Robert Marawa.
Let's go!
And Tando Manana, #MSW in France.
You're missing out if you haven't tried Lotto Star's live games. Looking for card, dice, or money wheel games? We've got it. Bet now on our popular blackjack, roulette, poker, game shows, and baccarat games, and stand to win payouts of up to 10 million rand instantly. Bet now on lottostar.co.za. Your world of live games.
Lotto Stars, licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18s. National Responsible Gambling Program. 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
Better. We'll reach our big betters with all the small betters along the way. Better might be video calling your gogo for hours.
Hi Gogo, Unjani.
Better is snuggling up to stream your favorite show. Or sharing 100 funny reels with your bestie before 10 a.m. MWeb. Better internet, better you. Choose SA's #1 fibre ISP. Visit mweb.co.za or call 087 700 5000.
Don't miss the Rugby World Cup 2023 semi-finals in Paris with Sports Nation. Book the semi-final travel package 11 in Paris, which includes 2 semi-final matches, accommodation and match day transfers. Travel between the 19th and the 23rd of October. Visit sportsnation-travel.co.za or email info@sportsnation.co.za and bring the spirit of Africa to France. Sports Nation is an official travel agent for Rugby World Cup 2023.
Checker 6060 is making a millionaire every week for 8 weeks. Light the fire, we'll be there in an hour. Let's go 6060. Meat and drinks in, green and gold win. Let's go 6060. Stay on your guard, we'll bring your scratch card. Let's go 6060. Major payday, half time on match day. Let's go 6060. Shop on 6060, get a scratch card, and you could win 1 million rand every week. T's and C's apply. Let's go 6060.
Hello.
Hi. I urgently need business funding to...
Press 1 to speak to an English robot.
Okay.
Sorry, our English robots are busy. Press 2 to speak to a Zulu robot.
How do I speak to a human?
Invalid request. Goodbye.
When it comes to your business, nothing beats real help from real humans. Open a Lula business bank account and bank with humans, not robots. Visit lula.co.za and make cash flow. Powered by Access Bank.
Picture this. You're walking out of the office, straight into the weekend, but your threads aren't matching your energy. If only you had gone to the International Brands outlet in Atterbury, the Palms, Marlborough, or Woodmead. You could have found cotton golfers, joggers, flats, slides, socks for your slides. Instead, your wardrobe isn't complete because you didn't get that distinctive IBO touch. It's not too late though. International Brands Outlet. Great brands at great prices.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
On Mamelodi Sundowns, Mr. Marawa, I think the coach lacked a contingent plan because I'm sure he should have realized that the match was heading to the penalties. But it seems the coach didn't have got a contingent plan to realize who should take penalties and when and how. It seems there was no order. So I think the coach needed to gain some experience when it comes to those competitions.
If there is anything that
anyone thinks went wrong, then I'm to be blamed for everything. If the lineup was wrong, it's my fault. If we missed the penalties, don't worry, it's my fault. I take the blame for everything.
Blame Rulani Mokoena. That's as simple and as straightforward as it can be.
Said you could put the blame on me. You could put the blame on me.
#MSW. Room Dividers. It's more than just analysis. It's a lifestyle. Every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. The Room Dividers. Robert, Tando and Ashwin. Interrogating more than just rugby issues. Tune in on Tuesdays for the experience. Vuma FM, Rise FM and Soweto Live.
Prarop, Nama shareholders and Nama Room Dividers, good evening. My rugby is very poor, but all I can say is I wish the Boks all the best. I wish they bring the cup home because they are our only hope for anything in the World Cup. Thanks, Robert Petros from Blockade.
Hey, Petros, don't worry, you'll sharpen your rugby knowledge, man, with these gentlemen around.
Hey, Robert, you're speaking to St. Clair here, man. Originally from South Africa, but currently working and living in the US. Follow your show, I watch it on YouTube, and I'm going to discuss the Rugby World Cup, man. It's crunch time now, my brother. It's no more time for games. Rossi must quit with this 7-1 split, whatever. We're going 5-3, man. We have Lucanio Arm back, Andre Pollard back, so we need them on the bench to replace the guys in the second half. So yeah, 5-3 split for the quarterfinal against France, then we win in the game. It's crunch time, Robert. Thank you.
Oh man, St. Clair, thank you so much. International traveler catching us in the United States of America, watching on YouTube as well. We are streaming live today, so you can catch the show live. You can comment even on that particular platform. Besides sending your WhatsApp voice notes, it is #MSW Marawa Sports Worldwide. With the Room Dividers, shortly we're going to be going to Stephen Jones coming through live from the UK. His line just dropped, but we'll have him back on hold again. Maybe let's talk about what St. Clair says. Do you want to pick up on that, any of you guys?
Rob, yeah? let's be realistic. It's a do or die, tit for tat, pound for pound. If we don't make it, we come back home on Monday. If we make it, we stay for the duration of the
7-1 split, not 7-1 split.
It can't because it's failed. So it's proven that it failed.
Okay.
Yeah. So now the issue here is then, Rob, if you go for a 6-2, all right, so if you go for a 6-2, it means Manili Bok and one scrum half. It ends there because you've got to bring in a Kwagga Smith into the frame, and then he's got to go, or whoever, when they select, they've got to go for Argees Neyman and go for Klein. You can't leave those two. That's the situation because we've seen in the past that they've gone for 6-2. They normally go that route, and then you have your front rower. So for me, I'm of the view that if we go 6-2, that's how we go. We go with Klein, Argees, and the front rowers, whoever it is, and then you go with Kwagga Smith. So Kwagga needs to be discussed at a team meeting if he's needed for this quarterfinal game. If he is needed, then we're going for a 6-2 split. If not needed, you go for a 5-3. But what I've seen
let's have that team meeting right now. Ashwin, you come in. Let's resolve the Kwagga Smith team meeting thing.
But Tando's not in favor of the 7-1, and he hasn't.
No, he's not. Yeah. Even last week he was not.
So he's not. Dupont, so if they play him and they start him, I'm sure that a 6-2 split where you can have forwards really sort of going in and taking them on hard, the likes of Kwagga Smith, even then would be great because you wanna target Dupont then at every opportunity you get to make sure that you ruffle his feathers, get him, his mind off the game. So I think depending on who they start, perhaps that's why we're only announcing the team. I heard from the press conference on Friday. So if that's the reason, then I think 6-2 is almost like a compromise between a 7-1 and a 5-3 split. So I think I can also go with a 6-2 and but if we go into this game and we say what we want to do is we want to make sure that we set the foundation up front and allow the game to evolve and to be played the best we can, then we should really consider a 5-3 split. Give the backs an opportunity you have sufficient manpower. So you've got your 9, you've got your 10, and you've got a versatile player then to come on. So I think you've covered your back line. This is not a case of prepping for the next game. 1 point out and you coming home. and you don't want to. So if you want to take a chance by playing a player in a position where he's confident, competent, but it's not his first choice position, I think 9-10 really is the question mark, whether we should play around there. We have the option now to put in a 10, start with a 10, have a 10 on the bench. We've made sure we've got that one. 9, we've got 4 9s in the team, so we can decide who's going to be on the bench as a second 9. Then you have a versatility player, a backline player that is there. And I think that's the safest bet if you want to go in, sort of take charge and make sure that you've got your... So for me, 6-2 or preferably a 5-3 split.
Rob, I'll take you to a game at Ellis Park.
Yeah.
Had we won that game, we would have won the rugby championship. We lost that game. We went for that same 6-2 split. The only time for me the 6-2 split has worked has actually been against the friendly we had against the All Black, the friendly test match. It has worked there. We demolished them. But since then, it never sort of ricocheted to give you the same results. That's my only issue with the 6-2. I'm looking here and I'm looking at, you've made a name, Dupont. He is going to be a huge impact for the French team. I don't care what you guys are saying. He is going to be a huge impact when he comes on. He's the team captain. He's leading France in front of his home country.
So you certain he's coming on?
He's starting.
He's starting. He's been
So-
cleared.
so
He's been cleared.
But they initially said cleared to train.
They've cleared him
To start.
play.
Yes.
To play. So cleared to play. So
Yeah.
if they want to start him, they can.
Yes.
Which I think every South African is hoping they do.
Yes.
Because I think starting Dupont will be their liability as a team. You know, Tando, you would know, to break a bone of that nature and then to come back and you start and you're at number 9 and you've got a South African pack of forwards all targeting you. I think Dupont, they should start with him.
Okay, let me do this, guys. Let me go across to Paris and France. Let me go and introduce somebody who has covered every World Cup since the inaugural tournament that was staged back in 1987. I mean, he's reported on more Lions tours, which is something like 9, more than, I suppose, any other journalist, and also over 300 international matches. Stephen Jones joins me all the way from there. He is a rugby correspondent with the Sunday Times in the United Kingdom. He is in Paris and France. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us here in South Africa. Good evening.
Good evening, Robert.
Oh, so good to hear you. Your good friend, Tando Banana, is alongside me here.
I've always wanted to be on the show with him, and I know he's a superstar. And just to be on the same show as him is just one of the biggest honours in my career, Robert, honestly.
Oh, it's an honour for us to have you on. Ashwin Willems, another Rugby World Cup winner.
Evening, Stephen.
Good evening, Stephen. Ashwin.
Evan, how are you? Nice to talk to you.
I mean, we love everything that you've done. And firstly, just congratulations on the many milestones you've achieved. It just shows that rugby runs through those veins of yours, eh?
Well, it does. It does. But it's just, I like being a journalist. I love working for the Times. And I've been, I've been all around the world. I've been to South Africa many times. And it's as Tanda will tell you, it's a beloved country for me. And I've never got, those big guys you've got in the team, they're all over the place. It's just that I love South Africa. I love covering rugby. And God, this weekend, what a weekend it's going to be.
Stephen, tell me, just from what you've covered, what you've seen of the defending champions, and it's going to be such a big clash, the host nation versus defending champions. What's worked through your mind as we anticipate here, especially as South Africans, a game of this magnitude?
Well, first of all, Robert, I've covered every World Cup. I've been to every World Cup final, but this feels to me like the biggest game I've ever seen. I mean, it's colossal. I know we all get cheesed off with the draw and how silly it was, but you have to say now it's thrown up this fantastic contest. And it is impossible to call for a start. I would hate to be the referee. It's the sort of game you need 4 referees for. But it is just a monster game. And anyone who says, I definitely think it's going to be South Africa to win or to France, is bluffing a bit because it is so difficult to call.
I mean, Stephen, from my side, if you look at the French, I mean, Scotland are the only side to have beaten them both away and at home, and no other team has done that since since early 2021. And I mean, they're on a 15 game or 16 game unbeaten at home. And what would be the best advice? I mean, you've watched it during the COVID time and era when they lost to the Scottish. What was it then? That has changed now for them. We know they meet us physically. We know they've got the pace, they've got the skill set. But what makes them stand out?
I think, look, from your great career that how difficult they are to play against. But it's funny, they were always that 5% short of consistency. I think a huge factor in their recent form has been Sean Edwards, the coach. Sean is just a remarkable guy. He did the same for Wales, for Wigan Rugby League. And I think he's the guy who's brought them into the sort of 21st century and the guy who's given them that extra 5%. They were always a little bit, they sort of wander during the game. Their concentration wander. They miss tackles or they give away a few penalties, and it cost them. But I think the discipline of the team now is sensational. I think a lot of it comes from Sean.
Stephen Ashwin, you've been to every World Cup, so the French is the only team outside of all the teams that have ever won a World Cup that have been in a World Cup final and has never won a World Cup final. Do you think this is their year? Just out of your experience, the feel that you have for it, they've had Dupont being injured. He's up for selection. Whether or not they'll start him, I think you've heard it's sort of a big discussion in the studio. So, if you were to call this, just based on your feel for every World Cup you've been to and what it means for the French at this point in the country. How rugby has evolved in the Northern Hemisphere. I think if you look at the four quarterfinals, you'll find that it's almost a North versus South World Cup, this one. If ever there has been one, we talk about the evolution of the game and the inspiration of the All Blacks and how today they are being beaten by the Irish at the same game that they've pioneered 10 years ago. So do you think this is a culmination of, call it the rugby life or the evolution of rugby for the French? You see every time they show a game that there's some French legend somewhere in the audience watching the game. Could this be for the French? And how gigantic will a South African win be against the French in this quarterfinal?
I think for a start, it'll be, in terms of the quarterfinal, it will be a bigger win than beating England in the final last time, because England were the great side. France are a great side. No question about it. I think that, I guess home advantage is going to be massive. I mean, there's 80,000 Frenchmen screaming. But on the other hand, I felt that actually having won the World Cup last time, I thought South Africa may be over the top now. One or two of the forwards might be a little bit past it. But astonishingly, I mean, I think they're actually a better team now than they were then. And these guys you've got coming through, these young backs, blimey, they're going to be around for the next one as well. I think if you say who's going to win and you really put your cards on the table, I think home advantage will be quite big. But there's going to be one score in it, and I think things like you've got to keep your discipline. You don't want a red card, etc. I just think probably by France, but only by a couple of points. But I wouldn't be at all surprised to be proved wrong. It is a fantastic prospect.
Stephen, who stood out for you from a South African player perspective? Always say, it's a team sport, but individuals always stand out. Maybe even a new name that was being introduced into world rugby.
Well, you've got so many great players. I mean, you've got the age-old problem there. I think people like Willemse and these guys, they are so good, and they've got so much talent. And I think that possibly you're going to have to, in the next year or two, you're going to have to use these guys and possibly change your style a bit, which will be a real shock shock to your system. But I mean, if you can keep the old power that you've got, the sort of it would always be typified for me by Dwayne Vermeulen. I know he's getting on now and probably had his best days, but always be and the bomb squad. This is just sensational sport to see these guys coming on, you know, and you're the first team to have two great front rows, etc. But I do think that in the next few years you're going to have this dilemma as to whether to use these young backs who are coming through, because they've got so much talent.
But to come back from the break, we'll continue with you, Stephen, if you don't mind. We're just quickly taking a break and we'll continue the conversation. We'll take some of your WhatsApp voice notes and also your comments. I'm looking at everyone that is watching on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much indeed. There are lots of comments that have been posted there, so I'll have a reflection of that. Oh, you know what, guys? I mean, we can't wait. It's that big rugby weekend we've all been waiting for. Knockout stage. One little mistake. You pack your bags. You go home.
The Room Dividers is more than just analysis. It's a lifestyle. Every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m., The Room Dividers. Robert, Tando and Ashwin interrogating more than just rugby issues. Tune in on Tuesdays for the experience. Vuma FM, Rise FM and Soweto Live.
Who wants to hear some T's and C's? I don't. But yeah, there are anyway. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Old Mutual Insure, a licensed FSP and non-life insurer. T's and C's apply. I mean, really, what a waste of time. Yes, this is another version of the ridiculously short 30-second Pineapple ad. Go to pineapple.co.za for 100% insurance, 0% other stuff. Where once again, thanks to the verbose mandatory T's and C's I just mentioned, we're not going to find out more about...
Don't you wish you can swap your old phone for a brand new foldable one? Get the Galaxy Z Flip 5 today. Trade in your old phone and get a guaranteed 15,000 Rand cash back into your pocket. Samsung trade-in really is the easiest and most affordable way to get the phone you want. Visit Samsung.com for more information and quick steps to follow. The new Galaxy Z Flip 5. Join the flip side. T's and C's apply.
Hi, you've reached Harold's relationship hotline. What's got you in a tizzy?
Harold, it's Cyril. I'm in a state of emergency.
Oh no, tell me ASAP, Mr. P.
It's my work buddy. I forgot his birthday today. He's my right-hand man, the V to my P.
Okay, no need to call in the army. Just get same-day delivery with Net Florist and we'll get a lovely Jamison man crate to him before you can say, my fellow South Africans.
Same day? Sure, now that's what I call service delivery.
Presidential smoochers.
It's the Specsavers Waza deal, and we're offering you the best prices on spectacles. For only 799 Rand, you get a pair of single vision spectacles, including an eye test, or bifocals for only 999 Rand. Yeah, boy, 799 Rand for single vision and only 999 Rand for bifocals. Visit your nearest Specsavers today and ask for our Waza deal. Specsavers, for affordable eye care and a whole lot more. T's and C's apply.
I like to sell it, but want a good price for it. Where can I sell it? I'd like to sell it. I'd like to sell it. I'd like
Whoa. You want to sell your car?
Yes.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
Well, because we'd like to buy it. 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 You want to sell it? We want to buy it. We buy cars. The best way to sell your car by far.
It's Big Deal Wednesday at Food Lovers Market. Buy a 7 kg potato pocket and a 7 kg onion pocket for only 149 Rand. That's a pocket of potatoes and a pocket of onions for 149 Rand. And enjoy a 16-piece chicken braai pack for just 49.99 per kilo. That's a chicken braai pack for 49.99 per kilo. Valid this Wednesday only at all Inland Food Lovers Market stores. The best in fresh, guaranteed.
Previous 3 on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
As we chat right now to Racing News 365 Formula One journalist, lead editor, coming through live from Cardiff in the UK, chatting to Ewan Gale, McLaren, the team. I mean, they become only the second team in history to hit 500 podiums. The significance of that, Ewan?
Yeah, it's hugely significant. Obviously, a team that was set up by Bruce McLaren in his own name, who was an F1 driver back in the 60s. Huge heritage in that team. You know, after Ferrari, it is really the team that embodies Formula One. It started off so poorly this season. To turn it around the way they have, technical team changes. You know, they are challenging Red Bull points-wise. They are Red Bull's biggest challenger for the rest of the year and next season.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW. This Friday the 13th. Be very afraid. As Robert Marawa and Tando Manana take over the streets of France. Catch Marawa Sports Worldwide live at the Rugby World Cup quarter-finals.
And he scores a fantastic try.
Kickstarting all the action with a special live broadcast on Friday, 13 October.
South Africa have their bonus point try.
And again on Monday, 16 October, featuring all the exclusive interviews and the all-day live crossings on various shows. Marawa Sports Worldwide Rugby World Cup Takeover with Robert Marawa and Tando Manana. Hashtag MSW in France.
Good evening, Mr. Marawa, and good evening to two gentlemen there in studio. Mr. Marawa, I think the game on the weekend for the Springboks, it's a do or die, Mr. Marawa. Once we can get past that game, I think everything will be in our hands to make sure that we defend our title. It won't be easy, Mr. Marawa, but I trust the boys. I trust the Springbok. Let's go, Poke. Let's go. Thank you, Mr. Marawa.
Good evening, Rob, and good evening to the shareholders and also to the room dividers, Mr. Willems and Mr. Manan. I just have to agree with Mr. Willems that I definitely feel like this game we need to go for a 5-3 split because it allows us to have a versatility because ideally we have the manpower, we have the people in the positions, so a 5-3 split will allow us to really go all out because, the 7-1, I think this game is going to be a game of fine margins. So, because, definitely if you make a mistake, you're going to be out. So at least we need to have that room to ensure that there's guys that are just going to try and make something out of nothing and get those small points and kick when they need to, those drop goals, whatever the case may be, because we just need as many points as we can because you just need to get the points for this time. And finally, congrats to Brian Habana for being inducted to the Hall of Fame. Very well done to him, and he deserves it. Thank you, Rob.
Hi, Rob. It is very exciting to hear that you and the room dividers will be supporting the team in France. Please do take along with you the MSW Lucky Charm so that we can emerge victorious this coming weekend. For me, Rob, this is a very nerve-wracking encounter, and that's why my comment is not going to be World Cup related, but more around the smart mouth guard technology that has been approved by World Rugby to send alert and notification to the side pitch if there's a possible concussion incident in the field of play. Just want to hear the views of the room dividers regarding the technology and how this is going to help with injury prevention in the game. Thank you so much. Tabokoye.
Taboka, thank you so much. Maybe that's a good question I can chuck across to Stephen Jones, rugby correspondent with the Sunday Times as well. Has been to every World Cup since the inauguration of the tournament back in 1987. Let me not forget the fact that he's also won the UK Sports Journalist of the Year award, has twice been the UK Sports Correspondent of the Year, 3 times Rugby Writer of the Year. So that is the caliber of individual that we're currently speaking to live from Paris in France. And wow, Accolades upon accolades, and what an honor again, Stephen. Thank you so much for your patience during that break. The issue about technology, and I'm sure you've seen it all evolve through the years, and now there's TMO, now there's GumGuard, and there's all sorts of things. Any comment on that?
The TMO, I'm afraid we saw a really ludicrous incident last week, Robert, when England were playing Samoa, and Samoa scored a try, and they took the conversion, which missed. Then play restarted, and then they went right back till before the conversion and ruled out the try. That's just ridiculous, I'm afraid. I don't think that the game should be held up for endless things like that. It was brought in to adjudicate on touchdowns, dirty play, but to go back like 6 scrums or to go back 6 knock-ons and make a decision on that is ridiculous. I think they ought to slash the number of things that it can be used for and get back to that and get on with the game. I really do.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think there was also a comment about just the refereeing in general being in favor for the less fancied team, or maybe sometimes even against it. I don't know. I mean, there's arguments either way. What's your take on what Stephen just said?
It was interesting because that is what the Samoans were saying after the game, that they thought there was I think they called it an unconscious bias.
Correct.
And I think that is true as well. I think now and again you think, these tier 2 teams, they can't be as good as the tier 1, so they must be infringing. But I have to say this: I think that the referee on the weekend, Ben O'Keefe, I think he's tremendous. I think he's a really good ref, honest and straight, and okay, if he makes mistakes, there'll be honest mistakes. So I don't think there's going to be any unconscious bias in that, but I think it does happen with tier 2.
Yeah, Ashwin, sorry, you're going to come in with a point.
I think that Stephen makes a good point in terms of technology. Technology, especially when it's introduced, is going to sort of cause some chaos of some sort. But I think that it has been applied, and how unfortunate for Samoa. It's what a call for the Samoans, and how big was that game really for the Samoans if you think about it. And for England, I think if a nation like England gets the favor going in their direction, then obviously it awakens the questioning around unconscious bias. When it comes to injury, however, I think with regards to injuries, I think technology is a good enabler to prevention, but also assessment. So I think all of us are open to the advancement of technology in as it pertains to injuries, and as it applies to the laws of the games and the rules of the game. It's there to assist the referees. Rob, I think if you look at referees, these guys arrive at a ruck, and there's 1,000 decisions they can call at any given time. So how to call the correct one? O'Keefe going into the quarterfinal, he's an experienced ref, and he wouldn't want to. He knows how big this opportunity is for him as an individual, and he want to go out there and give it his best shot. And I think really is to utilize the technology to advance the game, but also to make sure that you take out big blunders that may be caused. And I think perhaps the Samoan decision, perhaps that will actually go into the quarterfinals, because it hasn't really necessarily changed anything in terms of the dynamics of who goes through. But hopefully that will sort of put a greater impetus in terms of how we're going to use it, especially this new application of the technology in applying the rules, how it's going to be utilized. So I think everyone will be nervous, especially when it comes to the referees in this one. And it's all about the momentum of the game also, I think.
I think everyone's going to be nervous. Everyone's going to be under the spotlight. And we've got to a stage where it's not just the referees now. Everyone involved with the TMOs, they get named. Everybody knows who's in the box, etc. I want to get back quickly, guys, because there's just something you mentioned before we brought Stephen in, and that was about just how well developed the All Blacks have become since that opening game, Stephen. And Tanda was marveling at how they've been able to cruise through all of the games that they've had, and even just calculating the points. I mean, they've scored 36 tries now since that game. They've played against the Namibias, the Uruguays, and Italy, and that's where the 36 tries have. Is that a signal, Stephen, before Tanda even comments about it further, of that resurgent All Black mentality at a big tournament?
No, I don't think it is, because I think there are some games where if you score so many tries, it actually affects you adversely for when you come up to a real game. I mean, I don't think this All Black team is anything remotely like their recent teams. I think that they've been playing soft opposition, and I think that Ireland are going to take some beating in the other quarterfinal. I've got Ireland by a score, maybe a little bit more, because I just do not think that this All Black era is a great era. As simple as that.
Rob, if I can come in.
Yeah, sure.
First phase has never been good against a top opposition. That's New Zealand for you.
Right.
Right, in terms of scrummaging, in terms of lineouts, etc. Two, I personally feel they're not playing their best players in the tournaments. And why I'm saying that, Scott Barrett is probably their best forward in the World Cup, and he's not been a regular starter in that tournament. But most importantly, they've not been tested on defense. So for me, like Farrell will say, defense wins you World Cup matches into the knockout stages. Now is going to be a time where they've got to defend against a properly well-oiled Ireland team, Rob, that plays moves as if they've been training for 6 years to execute a move. It's just the precision from an Irish point of view that is tops. Now, they're going to be heavily tested on defense. They're going to be heavily tested on first phase possession, because as we've seen, Ireland tick those boxes. And at the breakdown, I've always said this, they go in hard than any other team. That's why they don't lose ball at breakdown possession. Now, breakdown possession, as South Africa, we're missing a Malcolm Marx because he's very strong at the breakdown. So those are quite critical factors, because a turnover ball with a sublime Sam Kane, Frizzell, those players are not players that are well built for this World Cup. It's unfortunate, Robin. Let's talk it as we see it.
But also give credit. I mean, I want to give credit to Owen Farrell as well. He kicked the penalty to break Johnny Wilkinson's England points record. It was 1,179 in the Rugby World Cup game against Samoa on Saturday. So he made a historic contribution, taking the tally to 1,181 in that first half of the England final Pool B game.
I thought our attack first phase wise was as good as it's been for quite some time, and our tempo of how we attacked the Scottish line was clinical, and when you're so clinical, when you've been defending how we had been defending, I suppose it's a real shot in the arm for ourselves, but a real hammer blow to a team that had been attacking really well at the start of the game. I thought that was the story of the game in the first half, that we was clinical and took our chances and defended our backsides off. That's for sure.
Stephen, all I need from you before I say goodbye to you is I need my semi-final fixtures. Who's going to be playing against you in the semis?
First of all, I think that it's a time you've had your day. Southern Hemisphere guys. It's going to be a Northern Hemisphere dominance. It's about time you were generous and let someone else win. So I think it'll be. I think France and Ireland will go through. But I'm going to avoid Tando in case I'm wrong.
I take your word for it, Steve.
So France, Ireland to go through?
Yeah, I do think that. And I think probably I would love to see Fiji beat England. I would love to, because I think they're a better team. And I would absolutely love someone from the South Sea to come through. I really would.
Oh, man. Hope to chat to you again soon, Stephen. Thank you so much, Steve. All right, losing him there. I think just the network problem affecting us. But wow, breath of fresh air. You know what I loved is what the Room Dividers honesty brings onto the table. Honesty. Stephen bringing that fresh honesty, also saying absolutely not about the All Blacks. Forget about them. It's not the era of All Blacks that we've seen before. So forget about whatever contribution or hopes that they might have. Who's going to be in the semis? Quickly, no justification. Just give me 4 countries.
Box, England, All Blacks, Argentina.
And Arge. Okay. Manana?
Rob, I'm going Ireland. Wales.
Okay.
SA. England.
Have a great trip, sir. May you sort your traveling problems out. And again, they do serve food on the flight.
And the time?
May you please leave.
What about my time?
Oui.
Please leave.
Comment ça va?
Please leave. Please leave the full chicken behind, sir.
The Room Dividers is more than just analysis. It's a lifestyle. Every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. The Room Dividers. Robert, Tando and Ashwin interrogating more than just rugby issues. Tune in on Tuesdays for the experience. Vuma FM, Rise FM and Soweto Live.